Can I help you?
Hi, my name is Peter Parker. You don't know me, but we went to school together, and secretly I became Spider-Man in early 2016, and then I fought with the Avengers in Germany, and Liz's dad, who was secretly the Vulture, and Thanos up in space before I was blipped, and then came back 5 years later to fight a version of Thanos again, and I had all the Infinity Stones for a minute too, but Mr. Stark died in front of everybody. Then you and I went to Italy, and I fought Mysterio, and you and I kissed, but when we got back, my secret identity was revealed to the world, and I was framed, but this really good lawyer got all the charges conveniently dropped instantly, so I went to Doctor Strange to have him cast a spell to make everybody forget that I was Spider-Man, but we broke up in the multiverse, and all these villains came through, and one of them killed Aunt May, and other versions of me also showed up, and we cured all the bad guys, but Doctor Strange had to cast another spell to make the whole world forget who I was. I made a cool new suit, and now I'm here, and you were my girlfriend, and I promised I would make you remember me.
911, what's your emergency?
Oh, no, Ned, you don't need to call the police. What's going on, guys? It's Ross here, back on MGF Customs for the first official custom LEGO minifigure showcase video of the Spider-Man No Way Home project. Kicking this off with the integrated suit, of course, which I'm sure a bunch of you are already thinking you've already seen before in a few other videos, and you would be right, but you haven't seen the custom pincers that I made after the fact attached to the minifigure yet, along with the unmasked heads and a new look at Peter 3, the amazing Spider-Man himself, now completed, which I'll have a new glimpse for you at the end of the video, so be sure to stick around. I know that this has taken a really long time because it takes a really long time to hand paint custom LEGO Spider-Man suits. I mean, everything you're seeing here and in this video is largely all fully 100% hand painted, and it's so time consuming to paint like this with organized web lines, and we'll get into all of it in just a second here, but I just really appreciate you guys being so patient with me through 2022, through detours like the Batman showcase and other projects that I also did take on, and eventually these three iconic web slingers and all the villains are going to look amazing together, but I decided because they are all so challenging to make with the standards that I have now that I would go ahead and switch to single showcases so as to not keep you guys waiting as long, and hopefully you guys can understand that. Same rollout of minifigures, just a different distribution. So with all of that said, let's go ahead and finally get started. Okay, so the Spider-Man integrated suit from the back half of the movie was actually like my first custom painted Spider-Man suit since like 2019, and also the first time that I got to paint a standard red Tom Holland MCU Spider-Man mask since Captain America Civil War, actually. So this figure was really quite a few firsts for me in quite some time, and I am really proud of the end result. You guys have seen the figure quite a bit already, but as you can see, of course, like I mentioned, these figures, these web slingers, they're fully 100% hand painted. Everything that you see here, I painted. So this was a blank red head, blank black body, blank black legs. There was nothing here. This is all fully 100% hand painted, and that is why these custom minifigures take the longest. To achieve results like this, clean, organized, and precise webbing detail by hand, it takes a considerable amount of time. It's slow. The processes are slow. The planning is slow. The masking and correcting is slow. It all takes time. But I'm so happy with how the mask turned out, especially. As you can see, this is actually based off of Phoenix custom Spider-Man masks. So his printed version is what I took primary inspiration from. And then I used reference from Spider-Man PS4 and PS5 actually to basically figure out the rest of the wraparound design on the sides and stuff and figure out the connectivity. And that's really such a huge part of making these figures. There has to be cohesion. You have to know where everything is going. Every line, every design, where does it start? Where does it end? How is this going to look? And even though I can have that foresight and you can plan ahead, sometimes things happen like with the arms, where unfortunately I got it mostly accurate. I painted all of that on myself based off of Hot Toys prototype, and I got pretty close, but then the movie came out and I realized that the shoulder design is actually a little bit more boxy, and Hot Toys must have taken their inspiration from outdated reference material, unfortunately, so slight inaccuracy carried over onto the shoulders for me here, but the torso is actually based directly off of Legos because Lego had a really sound design. I checked it with the reference and everything, so I took a lot of inspiration from them for my own painted torso, doing that by hand, you know, starting in the center there with that gold design and then building my way out, right? That's really how you do a lot of high intense paintwork like this, is basically just starting in the middle and building your way out. And so that's what I also did really with the front of the mask on the head head there and wrapping all that web detail around the entirety of it. That probably took, I'd say, a couple days on and off, maybe 2 or 3 days to achieve that mask design. And by the way, a big part of painting Spider-Man masks is really just nailing the lenses, the placement of the lenses, the position of them, and making sure those are correct before you do anything else. I spend so much time on the shapes of the lenses before I go any further on a Spider-Man custom. Before we move on completely from the arms, a couple things that you actually probably didn't notice is that I do have a couple of printed finger-tipped gloves from Phoenix Custom Spider-Man actually, so I kind of took it off of his upgraded suit and then put it on my custom here because they just look so good, and those fingertips are actually pad printed just like official Lego as well. I don't have a lot going on in the way of web shooters, but you can kind of see I have a little bit of a simplistic design right there on the insides of the wrist because you don't want to go too crazy layering up paint that has to rub against the sides of a minifigure torso, so that's usually generally why I leave that blank if I can help it, but on figures like Peter 3, who you'll see in the near future here, that isn't always an option. However, one thing I really want to highlight is that I, as you can probably tell, had to paint all of this wraparound black metallic detail, all of this lining that you see on the belt, a little bit on the front torso, and also a little bit on the arms. That metallic black painted detail wrapping around the whole figure in various different areas, it was hard to figure out the design for those, but also it was really difficult to basically see the shiny metallic black paint against wet matte black paint, if that makes sense. It's just hard to see on the human eye, and so that made for a challenging painting process. But as you can see, the legs were also pretty challenging because one thing that I really want to highlight here is the stacked designs that come from the knee areas, right? They start here and then wrap all around the entirety of the legs, and that wraparound design, those stacked lines, took a long time, and I had to be really careful not to accidentally layer up too much paint. So anyway, if we go ahead and actually lift up one of those legs, you can see those designs, and all the webbing on the boots do wrap around all 4 sides of the minifigure's leg. Again, doing stuff like this takes so much time when you're trying to, paint on metallic black lines that you can barely see, or just create cohesion generally by having the design seamlessly and as, evenly as possible wrap around a boxy minifigure like this, and converting those Spider-Man designs to do so on a Lego minifigure is not easy either. And also, you probably didn't even notice, but up here I've got the webbing that has to continue all the way up to the neck area where the mask goes on too, so that's pretty important to remember. Now I'm temporarily going to remove the mask head here so we can put the pincers on. Now these pincers were actually designed and then 3D printed by Tuminio over at micromee.co.uk. Be sure to check out his store. The link will be down in the description below. He's done some incredible work that has greatly contributed to a lot of my customs in the last couple of years, and essentially I modified them with a little fabric neck brace that I then painted the webbing onto that was consistent with what I had already painted on the top of the torso, and then had these pieces now attached more seamlessly to the minifigure to create a pretty cool set of arms that obviously the character didn't actually have in the movie, right? Peter did not deploy any pincers out of the integrated suit in the final act of Spider-Man No Way Home. However, like I mentioned earlier, Hot Toys, with their prototype, they did have the set of pincers on there and will be still shipping that figure with pincers that didn't actually wind up even being in the film, and that's okay because they look awesome. And because the integrated suit, of course, does have the nanotechnology, it stands to reason that maybe the pincers could have come out of the suit at any time and they were in there, but then Peter just didn't use them. I guess we'll never know, but I still wanted to take all of the extra time in getting these pincers and hand painting them myself, going section by section to create and maintain all of the outlines that you see in each of those sections. Wherever you can see an outline, a visible bit of definition, that is all intentional. That was always the idea, to make sure that these didn't just look like they were painted in one solid color, but that they were actually the detailed pieces that they were always intended to be painted as by Tuminio. And of course, you probably can figure out at this point that they are attached by micromagnets, right? So you can see right there the exposed micromagnets on the ends of each of the pincer and then the backpack piece. But yeah, they attach on perfectly. They're fully articulated and it's just so cool. And honestly, it really completes the figure to me. I feel like the integrated suit would be so much more boring of a custom if I didn't go ahead and take all the extra time to paint paint these. It was something that I wanted to do even regardless of whether or not the pincers appeared in the movie. And now I'm really glad to have finally had the opportunity to show you guys what they look like on the custom minifigure in full. But now let's take those pincers out of the way and talk about the unmasked heads that I have for Peter. This is actually the Tom Holland pad printed likeness from Phoenix Customs, and this is definitely my favorite printed head that matches Tom Holland's likeness in Lego, and always the one that I use as the primary Tom Holland head on any Spider-Man MCU minifigure that I need it for. If we go ahead and lift the hairpiece off actually, or just the entire head in this case, and twist that face around, you can see that we also have the tearing up expression. This is obviously, if you haven't already been able to notice, a head from Avengers Infinity War. This went with his metallic Iron Spider minifigure, and it's a really cool face design. This is the I don't feel so good moment before Peter disappeared, but obviously it has a multitude of uses, namely probably, even though it doesn't have the blood, one that could be used for Aunt May's unfortunate death sequence. Now another printed head that I have for the integrated suit is actually this one here from Firestar Toys. I believe this is UV printed though, still looks awesome, and is of course representative of the final moments against Green Goblin when Peter is determined and ready to take him down. And of course this one also has the little bits of blood and scratches printed onto the face as well, which is just so cool and really solidifies my own custom minifigure in that moment. So I love this head, and just having these three printed face designs for Tom Holland Spidey and me not having to paint any is definitely quite a relief. And as promised, I do want to offer you guys a couple looks at what the alternate unmasked Peter heads look like with the pincers also attached. Just kind of a really unique look that obviously we're never going to see in the MCU because of course the integrated suit has already been abandoned. So I guess this is just kind of a really cool what if look for Peter in No Way Home, having his mask off with the pincers, and I think it's just kind of fun. But yeah, I think really my favorite look though is definitely Firestar's bloodied up printed head, because of course, I mean, that just looks more fitting of the final battle in No Way Home and just really lends itself to this overall look with the pincers. But yeah, now that's pretty much already it for the integrated suit from No Way Home. If I'm being honest, the integrated suit is probably not one of my favorite Spider-Man suits in the MCU, but I mean, of course, it's the main suit that was used in the final battle when Tom Holland is in the final sequence with Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, so it will always be special, and I knew that it was definitely the suit that had to take precedence even over that amazing new classic suit. But speaking of amazing suits, I can't wait for you to see Peter 3 again. I got a quick glimpse of him for you at the end of the video coming up, and I mean, I hope that seeing the pincers and the unmasked head kind of justified this showcase, and I hope that you enjoyed the video thus far. I got a little bit more for you even after the outro, but yeah, that's really it for the No Way Home suit. That was actually, if you didn't know, actually CGI the whole time. They just CG'd all the integrated suit elements over the upgraded suit, which is interesting, and it thankfully looks really good, and you can't really tell in the movie. But the integrated suit, yeah, I guess doesn't actually exist in real life. All right, guys, and there you go. That is going to do it for what is now the first of many custom Lego Spider-Man No Way Home single showcases toward this project. And again, it is only because of how time-consuming it is to make these minifigures by hand. They have been and are going to continue to be some of the most challenging custom Lego minifigures I have ever painted by hand, and because of that, the progress posts are going to continue going up over on the Patreon, as they already have for both this guy right here and also Peter 3, who I just wrapped up, and soon Peter 2, who I'll actually be filming a little bit more of for a tutorial that I'll be posting over there, where in a longer format I can kind of elaborate on a lot more of the processes that I mentioned in this video and kind of more clearly show everybody how to make custom Lego Spider-Man suits, and really again just offer a clearer look at what goes into all of this super extensive and difficult organized precision micro painting in making these guys in Lego. And so that's all going up over there if you're interested. Otherwise, of course, you can always find me and previews for all my custom Lego minifigures coming up over on my Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Of course, those are always going up there, including this new image that I just edited for the amazing Spider-Man himself, Peter 3, who I just mentioned and just recently finally finished. That right there was a huge blast from the past, of course, whipping out the original Amazing Spider-Man 2 customs I made way back in 2014, but now with the new Peter 3 suit front and center, the fully realized and hand-painted Andrew Garfield suit now completed that you'll be seeing in the next showcase sooner rather than later, because again, he is a finished figure. But I want to kind of get started on Peter 2 here and allow for a little bit of breathing room before I just roll right into the next full Spider-Man No Way Home single showcase, and hope you guys can understand there as well. Otherwise, that is going to do it for this showcase. And I mean, of course, 3 is the magic number. I can't wait to make Toby and get started on that figure and start posting progress for him. And of course, eventually after that, the villains, beginning with Green Goblin, Doc Ock, and Electro. And then we're going to continue on to the last leg of this project. And guys, that is the plan before I finally regroup and probably finish the Avengers Endgame project. I know a lot of this seems crazy and like it may not happen. It's important to me, as I know it's been important to you guys, even though it's taken a lifetime to see a lot of this happen. And so with all of that said, thank you guys so much for watching this first video. I hope you enjoyed it, and stick around for some fun bloopers and stuff at the end here. But other than that, take care and keep creating. Bye-bye. Of the Spider-Man starting off with the integrated finally for the very first official custom